Hey guys, welcome. Today we're going to discuss assertive communication. That's right, speaking up for yourself and finding your voice. It may interest you if you struggle in your romantic relationships to really express what you really want. And in your professional relationships, likewise, you are reluctant to point out red flags or voice your concern about a particular subject. These things really inhibit our relationships and they limit our personal and professional growth. So stay tuned. When I cover emotional intelligence, we discuss being responsible for our own emotions and our own needs. Assertive communication is a great way to speak up for ourselves. It allows us to declare our most basic human needs, set boundaries, and express our emotions more fully. We learn about our voice, agency, self expression, and boundaries at such an early age. Our parents or guardians' parenting style, as well as early childhood trauma and experiences, influence and shape how we communicate and how we take up space in the world. As a child, if you were raised in a negative environment with parents, for example, that were narcissistic, emotionally invalidating, or neglectful, you may find it difficult to express who you are, what you need, or you could even struggle to ask for what you want. While the roots of not having a voice lie in childhood, as an adult, in your personal and professional relationships, you can take space to trust yourself, to find your voice, and to change how you're showing up in the conversation. In many cultures, children are told, speak when you're spoken to, or if they interject in a conversation, they may be told, stay out of grown folks' business. Now, these are lighthearted examples, but more detrimental cues of instruction on human behavior can include a parent that withdraws whenever a child disagrees with them, or when a child is punished for expressing their feelings, opinions, or emotions. In their adult life, this same child can have an inability to stand up for themselves, their beliefs, and to question the validity of what they're feeling. Many people, for example, stay in abusive relationships because they're used to their feelings being met with dismissal, condescent, and invalidation. And this is not just physical abuse, this pattern can show up in a marriage. We do tend to marry our parents. It can also show up in working relationships. For example, if you're working with a toxic boss, our experiences shape how we communicate. I just thought of Maya Angelou, who famously did not use her voice for 5 years after a childhood trauma. Her experience taught her that her voice was dangerous. I know that also personally, experiencing childhood trauma myself, it definitely related to me being more timid in expressing myself early on in my adult life. An interesting dichotomy is that these types of learned behaviors and experiences can result in perfectionism, but paradoxically, passive aggressive means of communication. People with passive aggressive communication styles, they have trouble taking initiative. They may fear loss, failure, and even they fear success. They hold a lot in emotionally. And a lot of times, you may never know it, but they can leave conversations where they are seething with anger and no one will ever notice it. By the way, this type of communication style takes a huge toll on our bodies. In their personal life, they may fear dismissed, fear backlash, especially if this has happened previously while speaking up for themselves. Another barrier to assertive communication is avoiding conflict or being uncomfortable with conflict. Conflict avoidance may mean that you withdraw even when you need help. And instead of setting boundaries to keep the bad out, you keep everyone out. But this means missing out on the people that are there to validate us, to listen to us, and to help us grow through conflict. You may draw a blank during conflict. I used to freeze in the middle of a heated conversation or emotionally kind of detach and then go back later and kind of replay the conversation in my head and say, man, I wish I would have said this or that. Or sometimes things may get so jumbled in our minds, we can't find the right words to verbalize how we're feeling. When it comes to conflict, we often speak from a place of anger, fear, or defensiveness. Psychologist Dr. John Gottman recommends taking at least 20 minutes to self-soothe during a heated conversation before attempting to address conflict. If we speak from a place of calm, we're more likely to be heard, say what we mean, and we're less likely to say some things that we can't take back. It may be time to speak up for yourself if you find yourself constantly bottling your emotions, carrying resentment around, or if someone is treating you poorly. You could be upholding a pattern of abuse, neglect, or mistreatment. You've heard me discuss communication competency before, and given this theme, we have to consider situational context, and we also always have to have situational awareness. So don't go into your job thinking you are going to tell everyone off because you might get fired. Even if your workplace is a culture where they say they welcome ingenuity and new ideas, before you voice an idea or flag a concern, proceed with caution. This advice is backed by decades of research. In a study conducted by the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore, India, what they found was when employees spoke up for themselves, it was seen as a direct criticism of their superiors, not them addressing a particular concern of a particular situation. It was seen as them directly criticizing their bosses. The study cites that people in general are sensitive to criticism, and managers in particular lack the ability and the patience to process ideas or concerns that are not timed properly or appropriately. They went on to identify a key factor that makes some employees better than others at gaining endorsement for their ideas. They timed their messages effectively. In communication, we call this strategic silence. Now, there are some circumstances where it is not safe to speak up. If you're in physical or emotional danger, you want to always prioritize your physical and emotional safety. And sometimes some things are better left unsaid. And this may be a sign that you need to seek professional help of a therapist or a psychiatrist. Some tips to remember. Assertive communication is a relational style rooted in mutual respect. So remember, timing is everything. Also, after a lifetime of keeping feelings bottled up, this is going to be an iterative, incremental process. So we want to start small, but make sure you start and keep going. Remember to use I statements. I statements help you to take ownership of what you're thinking and what you're feeling without sounding accusatory. For example, the next time you're in a meeting and someone says something that you disagree with, instead of saying, "You are wrong, Bethany," try saying, "You know what, Bethany? I disagree with you." If you're a manager or a supervisor and you'd like to make a request of someone, instead of saying, "Get this done. I need you to get this done. Take care of this. Get this done right away." Try saying, "Hey, I would like your help with this." Always keep it simple, be specific, and be clear. Assertive communication is about using our words to set protective boundaries around ourselves. And one of the most basic ways to practice using communication to assert your boundaries is to practice saying no. Try this. Can you pick up extra work while Melissa goes on maternity leave? No. Can you lend me $1,000? No. Can you listen while I talk to you for 2 hours about my ex? No. If you have kids, you understand that for a certain period of time, no is their favorite word. This is because as children, we learn that getting others to respect our no creates space between us and the things that we dislike. So it's important to get others to respect your no and your boundaries. If saying no is too drastic, try phrases that create space. I cannot commit to this at the moment. It's important that we value and respect one another's time. Let's choose an option that works for both of us. Let me think about that and I'll get back to you. I love these phrases. They are giving me life. These phrases create space in the moment when somebody is trying to put you on the spot to help you communicate safely. Assertive communication should do just that. It should help you to be safe, to communicate without fear of retaliation, abandonment, or in the case of our personal relationships, without losing love. And this also means that others can feel comfortable saying no to you. And practice being a safe person yourself. Safe people are considerate. They have goodwill, which means they mean you no harm. They also have a great sense of empathy. And finally, they are honest. So they're going to be truthful with you, even if you're wrong. Safe people are confident. They are assertive. And this is because they have been affirmed in some way by someone else, and they model that behavior in their daily interactions. Remember that the process will not happen overnight, but if you continue to practice using your voice, speaking up for yourself, then you can maintain healthy attachments through honesty, trust, and truth without giving up agency or your sense of self. I hope that speaking up for yourself in assertive communication helps you to protect yourself and develop stronger, deeper connections. Well, I'm Nadia Heron, and this has been your lecture on assertive communication. If you've ever been in a situation where you've found it difficult to speak up for yourself, to find your voice, you're probably not alone, and we want to hear from you. Leave it in the comments below. Well, until next time, I am always rooting for your success. Take care.